Welcome everyone in today's meditation session. In today's session, we are going to see self compassion or inner compassion. Uh, Two forces, two kinds of self compassion, and how to balance them. So, compassion is basically when we see suffering going on, some pain going on, desire to help, and willingness to do something to alleviate that pain or to alleviate that suffering. And when the compassion is directed inwards, it's called as inner compassion or self compassion. When the compassion is directed outwards, it's called as uh, compassion for others, but compassion is same. And when we are compassionate inside, that comes as the basis to be compassionate to outside world. So that's why we are going to see self compassion. The informal definition of self compassion is uh, treating yourself in the same way as you would treat to your friend who is in a pain or who is suffering. And Dr. Christian Neff has did research on this self compassion or inner compassion, and she has divided into these three components or three elements of this self compassion or inner compassion. First is when something goes wrong, some if something sometimes we fail or something has gone wrong, then tendency is to criticize ourselves, either from internally or from someone else. Criticize ourselves. So self compassion involves instead of criticizing or judging ourselves, we give our kind presence, we kindness towards ourselves, because suffering is a pain, and as a human being, we deserve, all human beings deserve kindness on the onset of suffering. So the first step is to be self kindness versus being self judgmental or self criticizing. The second step is knowing that even if this pain is happening to us, whenever there is suffering or there is pain, the tendency is that we feel that we are all alone feeling this. Means like we feel like it's just me, means like, or I am a failure. So instead of that, self compassion, the second element of self compassion, sees our experience in the background of common human experience. For example, all human beings living on this world goes through this difficulty, goes through suffering in some extent. The degree of suffering, the kind of suffering, that could differ, but all human beings go through many kind of suffering. So understanding that our suffering on the background of common human experience is called common humanity. Common humanity gives us option of that I am not alone experiencing suffering or this kind of suffering. And the last and third most important component is mindfulness. So whenever there is something wrong, some mistake has happened or something, the tendency is to quickly fix it, or if it is too much unpleasant, ignore it, to push away. But mindfulness is very much non-judgmental and is very open and receptive. So whenever there is suffering or there is non-pleasant or pain, mindfulness gives us option to see things as they are without going into reactive mode. So instead of over identifying if there is a mistake, thinking that I am this mistake or I am failure, mindfulness give this option that at this moment, at this thing, this has gone wrong and I have failed in doing this thing. So mindfulness give this option of seeing thing as they are, to be with our suffering as it is, without over identifying with the situation. uh, and also mindfulness gives us option of being with the suffering without pushing it away or without resisting it. So these are three components of inner compassion, of self compassion. The first is being kind to ourselves instead of judging. Second is seeing our experience on the background of common human experience. And third is seeing things as they are happening, to be with our emotions, our experience as it is happening, without identifying with the experience. So because what we can't see, we cannot heal. So the it's very important to see that there is a suffering, mindfully be present with it without running away, without over identifying with it, understanding that I am not alone in this, and to be give us whatever we need most on the onset of this suffering. Sometimes the giving this self kindness part would be to soothe ourselves, to comfort ourselves, to be with a softened presence, be in a soft soothing presence with ourselves. This kind of compassion, where we need a tender presence or healing, it let's call it a yin self compassion, or yin inner compassion. Yin and yang are two concepts in Chinese philosophy. These are two energy forces who are very complementary but opposite to each other. So, Dr. Kristen Neff has also divided self compassion or inner compassion into these two names: yin self compassion and yang self compassion. As I just said, yin compassion is a tender kind of compassion which gives us the ability to be with ourselves in a tender, kind, and soothing or comforting way, whereas the yang kind of self compassion is more of a fierce, it's a more active force while acting in the world. So yang self compassion gives us energy to protect yourself. Sometimes you have said no, this is not okay, you have to put boundaries here. Sometimes we have to provide what we need ourselves. A parent working three jobs to put bread and necessary things in the house, this is a kind of a yang self compassion, providing for our needs, our authentic needs. Or sometimes we set our goals, and we have this vision of ourselves, and to reach to our goal or our vision, we have to make some necessary changes in our schedule, in our surroundings. So to motivate ourselves to achieve our goals, to motivate ourselves to change so that we can achieve our goal, is another kind of fierce self compassion or yang self compassion. So there are two kind of self compassion: tender or yin kind of self compassion, and active or yang kind of self compassion. In today's meditation, guided meditation session, we are going to use breath as our anchor. We'll start with some mindfulness, and we will do balancing and integrating of these two forces of compassion which are available all around us. Yin and yang compassion is an energy or intention forces available to all human beings all around us, and we are going to use breath to balance this tender and active kind of compassion. It's very important that these two energy forces has to be balanced with each other. For example, the active or fierce kind of self compassion, for example protecting ourselves, it has to be held with the yin, yin or tender kind of self example. Otherwise it could give to the hostility. Means it's important to remember that uh, we are, as we are protecting, or we are saying no to a incident and not to the character itself, or not to the person, but to a thing that is happening. Same thing, the providing part of a yang self compassion, it has to be held in a tender or yin kind of self compassion. Otherwise it would give rise to more uh, uh, selfishness nature. Same thing, the motivating ourselves for change, it has to be held in a tender self compassion. Otherwise it could lead to perfection. So it's very important that when we act in the world in a compassionate way, we need to balance our tender as well as uh, uh, active self compassion. So I will guide you. We will start with a classic breathing meditation, and then we will do meditation to balance our yin and yang self compassion. So we'll do a guided meditation. We will use breath to balance our compassion, inner compassion, yin, tender self compassion, and yang, active or fierce self compassion. So sit comfortably, sit in a position which is relaxed, comfortable, as well as alert. We have to find a way that balances being relaxed and being alert. You may feel your legs touching the ground, your hands resting on your body. And as you are sitting, you may close your eyes, soften them, relax your jaws, relax your shoulder, soften them, relax your belly, and you may get aware of sensations of your body breathing, the normal, natural breathing body. You may find that your breath is dominant either at the tip of the nostril or at the chest area or at the belly area. No one area is better than other. Wherever you find your breath the strongest, you can just rest your attention, feeling the sensation of your body breathing. You can gently note breathing in as you breathing in and breathing out as you breathe out. Anytime your mind wanders, get distracted, it's no problem. That is what mind does. The moment you realize that it's been distracted, gently, kindly let it go and gently begin again. That is our practice, to gently begin again. Breathing in, know that you are breathing in. Breathing out, know that you are breathing out. At any time during this practice, if your mind wanders, it doesn't matter where it wanders, how much time it wanders, on what subject it wanders. The moment you realize that it's been wander, you can gently let it go and come back and begin again. And as this is a reflective practice, anytime you need to, you can come back to your body breathing in, your body breathing out. Now you may focus on your in breath. You can bring your whole attention behind the in breath, and you can make a gesture of self compassion, tender yin self compassion, as putting hand on your heart or any part of your body, maybe hand, cheek, any part of the body that feels you comfortable. And with each in breath, we are taking in tender energy, yin self compassion energy, the energy of loving, connected presence. Let this tender and kind energy fill you. Let it nurture you with each breath in. You are bringing in loving, connected presence which is available to around all of us. And as a human being, all of us deserve to be compassionate to ourselves. Let this yin energy, this loving, connected presence, heal you, comfort you. And now you can switch your focus to the out breath. You may put your hands at your side with your palms facing outward. And as you are breathing out, you are exhaling yang energy. That is your fierce, active energy, the life force that can protect you, provide what you need, or motivate you to change. This fierce energy help you to act in the world. Let this yang energy rise from the base of your spine, your fierce active life energy. Let it rise from the base of your spine and move up your spine, strengthening your back and out the top of your head. Allow this energy to flow through you and radiate out into the world. If you feel like your body wants to rock, let it do so. We are breathing out our yang self compassion, our fierce compassion that help us to protect us, to provide what we need, and motivate us to do necessary changes. If you are a visual person, you can imagine some kind of light, red color light coming out with each exhale. You can also see if any word comes to you, any language, any word comes to you, like, like strength, power, fierce. And now you can focus on in breath and out breath at the same time. Breathing in, caring, tender self compassion, and breathing out, fierce, active self compassion. As a if you are a visualizing person, you can also see some color with your yin self compassion, say white or golden color breathing in and red color breathing out. Yin compassion, breathing in, yang compassion, breathing out. Any word that speaks to you to see this yin compassion, such as comfort, nurture, healing, love, as you breathe in, and any word that speaks to you yang compassion as you breathing out. Tender yin self compassion and fierce yang self compassion. Breathing in yin, breathing out yang. These two forms of love aimed at the elevation of your suffering, your pain, your difficulties. And you can allow the flow inward and flow outward to be as natural as the movement of the ocean. Waves going in, waves going out. Allowing yourself to be whole and complete with all aspects of yourself realized, accepted, and celebrated. And once you are ready, can come back and bring some gentle movement into your body. And once ready, you may open your eyes. Can let yourself with any feeling that's are coming with you. Thank you so much for practicing self-compassion or inner compassion today. Have a nice day.